World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is World News in 5 and I'm your host, Steph Vicente. Multiple ceasefire agreements are currently in place amid the ongoing conflict in the Middle East involving key players such as United States, Iran, Israel, and Lebanon. The BBC reports a temporary truce between the United States and Iran began on April 8 and is set to last for 14 days or until April 22. Pakistan, which helped mediate the talks, said Lebanon is covered under the agreement, although this has been disputed by both the U.S. and Israel. Meanwhile, a separate ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon took effect on April 16 and is expected to run until April 26. The agreement was announced with U.S. backing and has been welcomed by both sides, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressing support while maintaining a military presence in southern Lebanon. U.S. President Donald Trump has also called on the Iran-backed group Hezbollah to respect the truce. Hezbollah has indicated openness to the ceasefire but insisted it must include a full halt to attacks across Lebanon and restrict Israeli troop movement. Despite the agreements, tensions remain high as differing interpretations and conditions continue to challenge efforts toward lasting peace. In other news overseas, tensions remain high in the Middle East as Iran signaled it will keep the Strait of Hormuz closed as long as a United States naval blockade remains in place. The BBC reports Iranian parliamentary speaker and chief negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said the move is tied to ongoing disputes with Washington, noting that only one or two key issues remain unresolved between the two sides. However, he did not elaborate on the nature or significance of these disagreements. Despite the standoff, U.S. President Donald Trump expressed optimism, saying there have been very good conversations toward a possible agreement. The statement came shortly after reports that a vessel in the strategic waterway was fired upon by Iranian gunboats, further escalating tensions. President Trump warned that the United States would not tolerate what he described as blackmail, underscoring the fragile state of negotiations. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical route for global oil shipments, remains a focal point of concern as both sides continue diplomatic efforts amid rising security risk. And finally, former United States Vice President Kamala Harris has accused current U.S. President Donald Trump of being drawn into a conflict with Iran due to the influence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Speaking at a fundraising event, Harris claimed President Trump had been pulled into a war that she said the American public does not support and warned it could endanger U.S. service members. Harris emphasized that the situation raises concerns about foreign policy decisions and their potential consequences on national security. She suggested that the conflict was not aligned with the interest of many Americans. President Trump has yet to directly respond to Harris's remarks, but reiterated his support for Israel in a recent social media post. He described Israel as a great ally of the United States, praising its strength and resilience during times of conflict. The exchange highlights growing political tensions in the U.S. over foreign policy, particularly regarding relations with Israel and the escalating situation involving Iran. And that concludes today's edition of World News in 5. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.